Hello. How's everybody doing today? Brother John Stewart on behalf of Lost Sheep Ministries, here to take y'all on another little walk with the word today. So today I'm sharing a verse with you out of 2 Chronicles chapter 8, one verse, but it's one of those verses, I've read my Bible through 15, 20 times. I don't know how many I stopped counting, but it's one of those verses, I read it a million times, but it never stuck out to me until this time I read it, and it was just a little weird. It was one of those ones like, I never thought of that before. So I'm going to share this thought with y'all tonight, and it popped out to me, and hopefully it'll pop out to y'all as well as we go through this little lesson. So over in 2 Chronicles chapter 8, the Lord tells us this. He says, "And Solomon brought up the daughter of Pharaoh out of the city of David unto the house that he had built for her. For he said, My wife shall not dwell in the house of King David of Israel, because the places are holy whereunto the ark of the Lord have come." That's a little weird. That's a little bit of a weird situation to me, because Solomon was supposed to be the wisest king to ever live. Yet, if you look at these verses, you can see that he clearly recognized that this woman was unholy. I mean, when I say that, I don't necessarily mean she was like a demon or a witch or nothing like that. But if she was from Egypt, 9 times out of 10, she likely worshipped the idols of Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what they worship down there. They worship all those weird gods, Set and Ra and all those. So 9 times out of 10, if she was from Egypt, what she was worshiping those gods. And he knew this. You see what I'm saying? And there's nothing the Lord detests more than idol worshiping. Matter of fact, if you look at the very first commandment, what's the very first command he gave out of the 10 commandments? The very first one he gave us is not to worship any god other than the Lord. So Solomon clearly knew that they wasn't spiritually on the same level, which is why she couldn't stay in the house with him. Yet, he still married her. You know what I'm saying? That don't make sense to me. And I don't know about y'all, but that just don't sound very wise. Because now, when you do something like that, you have put yourself in a situation that you are with somebody that you are not, that you are unequally yoked to. You're not equally yoked to this person. You're unequally yoked. The Bible talks about don't be unequally yoked. So that's what he's doing. He put himself in a situation where he's unequally yoked. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, think about it. If she's not spiritually inclined enough to worship God with you, to be in the same place where y'all can worship God together, why would you feel she's spiritually inclined enough to marry? You see, that it don't make sense to me, because that's what marriage is. That's what people don't understand. A lot of times we think about marriage, we think it's just this contract that the government made up. No, there is a physical marriage, but there's also a spiritual marriage that the Lord performed. And that's what marriage is. Marriage is when two souls are joined together in the eyes of the Lord. You know, it's almost like a little surgery, a little spiritual surgery you have. And that's what I'm saying. That's what marriage is. Marriage is joining two spirits together, and that's why God has to do it, because no one else can do it. That's why it says over there in Matthew chapter 19, verse 6, it says, "Therefore, they are no more two, but one flesh. What therefore God have joined together, let no man put asunder." You see, that's why divorce is not supposed to be a thing. Because once those two spirits are joined together, only death can truly separate them. Because in death, the spirit obviously returns back to his, to his maker. But as long as that person is alive, those spirits are still attached. Even if they get divorced, they're still attached, because divorce is a man thing. But the true marriage, like I said earlier, it really takes place in heaven, and it's done by God. So it's a spiritual thing. So whenever you take that vow before God to join yourself to someone, just make sure you know that when you do that, when you make that vow, even if you get divorced, it's still until death do you part. You see what I'm saying? So that being said, to think that when you ever get married, you're joining yourself to somebody forever, why in the hell would you join somebody that you know is not on the same place as you spiritually? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking, when I say the same place spiritually, I'm not saying that y'all both worship God, y'all both worship Jesus Christ, and y'all relationship is exactly the same. That's almost impossible, because nobody's relationship is going to be the exact same. But so that's not what I'm saying. When I say in the same place spiritually, I'm not saying y'all got to have the exact same relationship that Jesus Christ has. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that you should at least serve the faith in the same God. That's what I'm saying. You got to have the faith in the same God, because you got to think about it. If you're not evenly yoked in your faith, then your relationship is you already putting your family up for division. Your family is starting off in division. And what does Jesus say about that? He's saying a house that is divided against itself cannot stand. You see what I'm saying? And trust me, he said you cannot stand. So if y'all not even believing the same God, if y'all don't already agree on the same God, the same faith, how are you going to agree on anything else? How you going to agree how to raise your kids? How you going to agree, how to discipline the kids? How you going to agree what schools they should go to? What they should believe in? What the kids going to believe in? You got mom and dad arguing over whose faith is right. So you're already setting your marriage up for failure. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you need to start focusing on. Who can you be equally yoked to? You know what I'm saying? When you talk about spiritual, that's what we need to focus on more. And trust me, I know. I've been there, and you got to think about it. When you're dating someone, you're not worried about it. You're not interested. When you first start getting interested, you're not thinking about what their relationship with God is. The last thing in your mind is what their work with God is like, their walk with God is like. You know what I'm saying? At least when you're young. When you get older, get my age, and I get to serve, now I think about that now. I don't have to worry about it because I'm married, but if I was, that'll be my first thing to think about. You know what I'm saying? So when you're younger, you don't think about that. You don't care about their relationship. Matter of fact, I can guarantee you, I probably can bet you $100 and win every single time I talk to somebody. I can guarantee you what was the first thing on your mind. You know what I'm saying? All you're trying to do is hook up, you little perverse. But don't worry, I've been there before. I'm with you. I was in the same boat. You see what I'm saying? But when you're trying to hook up with somebody, you don't care what they're at spiritually. That's the last thing you're thinking about. But I'm telling you today, looking at these verses, I'm telling you should. Matter of fact, that should be the main thing that you focus on. If you really want to be in a relationship with somebody and you want it to be a lasting, fruitful relationship, the first thing you should start focusing on when you're talking to a potential partner is where their relationship with God is at. That's the thing you should focus on. That's the first thing, because whenever you get into a relationship with somebody, you know what I'm saying, and if you're not spiritually inclined, their relationship is going to be in turmoil. That's why whenever I'm giving some kind of spiritual counseling to somebody, I do a lot of relationship counseling, or people always come to me for advice and things like that, because I've been married for 25 years. Like, how do you make it work? How do you know she was the one? Whenever that happens, I always tell a person, if you really want to know if this person is worth your time and will remain faithful, just look at how faithful they are in their relationship with God. And why did I say that? Because you got to think about this. God gives us everything. He gives us the life we have, the food we eat. I mean, we can't even live without His Spirit, and He's literally the breath in our lungs. You know what I'm saying? Our whole lives, our whole existence is sustained and maintained by Him. So if a nigga ain't faithful in his relationship with God, who completely sustains him, he definitely not going to be faithful in a relationship with you because you gave him a little coochie and made him a sandwich. I mean, let's be real, sis. I'm dead serious, and think about it. And it's vice versa for the men as well. Don't think just because you can put it down or slang a little ding-a-ling around and buy her a couple of purses that she going to be faithful to you. That don't mean a darn thing. I'm telling you, if she ain't faithful to God and her relationship with God and her study and trying to get closer with God, if she's not faithful to God, most likely she's not going to be faithful to you. You know what I'm saying? So to all my single brothers and sisters out there looking for a partner, again, my heart goes out to y'all. I'm so glad I'm not in the game no more by the grace of God. Now, I didn't focus on well, my wife was there spiritually when we first met, but by the grace of God, we just happened to be there. And it was just strictly by the grace of God, because that was not my focus in the first place. My focus was the one that y'all little perverses usually is. You know what I'm saying? But by the grace of God, we did end up being matched spiritually, so it worked out. But I'm telling y'all, if y'all, all my single people out there, if you're out there and you look for a partner, stop focusing so much on the physical attributes and the material things they can provide for you, and get you somebody that meshes up with you spiritually and somebody that can feed you spiritually. Because being in a relationship with someone and you're unequally yoked have been the downfall of many. Matter of fact, it's what eventually took Solomon down. Because in 1 Kings chapter 11, verses 3 and 4 says this. It says, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after gods. Turned away his hearts after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. Think about it. How could that possibly happen to the wisest man that ever lived? And I tell you how. It's because he was unequally yoked. And that has been your little walk with the word for the day. I pray these are blessing y'all. They are. Make sure you like, share, tag, comment, repost, save, do all that stuff to help me out. Catch me at Facebook Live Monday nights, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Find all my little social media outlets on lostsheepministry.com. And if you're not 100% sure about your salvation, reach out to me and let me know, and I can go over the gospel with you. I love you all. Until next time, peace.